Hello, your tour guide here, just welcoming you to a mini tour. It's a Thursday evening. I've just finished a little trip overseas and I find myself in King's Cross, on my way to see new friend Martin in the Charles I as our meeting point, and the plan is to go down to a few boozers in Holborn. But we'll see how it goes. It's already 7 o'clock, so we'll only squeeze a few in, I think. But more news as it happens. Met up with new friend Martin, and we're now just passing the Brunswick Centre on the way to the start of the walk. Plan is to get down to the Old Red Line in Holborn, actually maybe the Ship, and work our way back up. And where we are now, we're at the Brunswick Square, which is this, I'm going to say it's brutalist. I know I call everything brutalist, but it certainly looks that way. It's quite reminiscent of the Barbican. And there's quite an interesting little centre to it all. These staggered flats, multi-layered, multi-tiered, let's call them flats, and there's actually a nice little cinema in here. It's quite bijou. It's an artsy cinema. Yeah, it is an art cinema, Martin. Thanks for adding that. Called the Curzon, and I'm going to tell you what's on. I've got to tell you what's on tonight. We've got no way. I can't believe this, Martin. There's a film called The Brutalist on in the. Yeah, how about that? A Real Pain and Bertha. Something. Hang on, let me get to the front of it. Let's see now. Bertha Dockhouse. There's some parasols obscuring the title. Bertha Dockhouse, My Stolen Planet. Well, I'm not really sure what those are about, but I might research them and let you know what's going on. All right, cheers for now. On our way to down towards Holborn, and we've just passed what's now called the Fitzroy Hotel, or the Kimpton, or something like that, and or the Kimpton's the chain, apparently, Martin tells me, formerly the Russell Hotel, and it is grandiose beyond all belief, designed by the same architect as the Houses of Parliament and possibly St Pancras Station. Looks very reminiscent of St Pancras as well, and we're going to find out a little bit more about it, because we can't quite remember the name of the architect. But we'll do that. We'll do that. Martin's taking some photos for us, and I'll display them, and we'll get back to you. But also alongside it, my personal favourite, obviously due to its 70s heritage, is the Europa. But that's currently all under scaffold and tarpaulin, and that's going to be refaced, which I think might be a shame, but I'll reserve judgment until we actually see it, and update you later. Take care, bye. Also just past the Queen's Larder, famous for being the place where Queen Anne, I believe it was, stored the provisions as recommended by the physician that was treating her husband, George III, the madness of King George. Anyway, so it's on the corner of Cosmo Place in a nice little square. What's the name of this square, Martin? We'll find out in a minute anyway. Probably Queen Square. Oh yeah, lo and behold, Queen Square. Anyway, lovely little pub. We're not going to go in it today, but we'll try and report from there another time, but thought it was worth mentioning as we wend our way towards the Ship. Right, well, we made it to the not the Red Line, we made it to the Ship, Ship Tavern. This is on the western corner of Lincoln Inn's Fields, or the Lincoln Inn's Fields it was, at the corner of Gate Street and Little Turnstile. Established in 1549, as you can hear, it's incredibly rowdy tonight. Typical Thursday in London these days, about 8 o'clock in the evening. And it was founded, as I say, 1549 at the height of the Reformation, where Catholicism was illegal, and but this used to be a hideaway and a shelter for Catholic priests, where they also held secret Catholic services, apparently. Now, anyway, Another little fact was that it was originally in Whetstone Park, which was a part of the district notorious for gambling houses. And Richard Pederall, who was an aide in Charles I, escaped from the Puritans, from Cromwell and all that, used to visit here, as did John Bagford, as did another curious fellow called the Chevalier de Dion, who was apparently androgynous physically and used to dress up as a woman, managed to successfully infiltrate the court of the Empress Elizabeth of Russia as a woman, and was officially recognised as a woman by King Louis XVI.
And he did it before it became popular.
As Wrighton rightly points out. Now, the other interesting thing about Louis XVI, he had a famous wife who was fond of cake. So that will be that Marie Antoinette bird. So, it all hangs together loosely with a set of facts and sums up to be a very noisy but very historic pub. Well, amusingly, we've just walked past a very grandiose place called the Holborn Hotel. It looks like the home for the well-heeled. And as we passed a window, it was labelled the Pie Hole, and inside was a group of women of a certain age, all tucking into their fare. Now, Martin thought that was amusing for some reason, but I don't know.
In the pie hole.
Getting full up in the pie hole. Anyway, we'll ring off there because we've got to go to the Red Lion now. All right, take care. Snuck into the Red Lion, was hoping for a little sample of Timothy Taylor's Landlord. There were 3 charming young girls, but ultimately clueless, and we ended up with no beer at all because they didn't have any. So that was a great shame. It looks like it was a Green King pub. You can see some beautiful stained glass Green King motifs on the window as well. And it's quite a small, but yet perfectly formed pub, Victorian obviously, on the corner of Red Lion Street. But we'll go back and maybe next time they'll have some beer. But what a great shame, because it would have been a nice to go in there and see some more. Anyway, onwards and upwards, and we're off to the next one now. Short walk from the old Red Lion, and we're now in the old Nick, formerly the Three Cups, and allegedly part of Holborn's history since the 17th century. Now, the Three Cups is a reference to salt merchants, or, to be more precise, the Worshipful Company of Salters, an ancient guild linked to London's salt trade. So that's an interesting perspective in its own right. Now then, I've also got some extra details, courtesy of another YouTuber actually called Tweedy Pubs, who does some great reviews, and especially of the architecture of London pubs. And Tweedy believes that the pub was rebuilt in the 18th or the 19th century into a Victorian style, and a lot of the interior is not actually original, unfortunately. But nonetheless, it's a great pub inside here, and quite very busy tonight on the Thursday. Quite ornate. It's got a nice complete horseshoe bar, brass rail, wood panelling, a checker tiled floor, some wonderful people, and a seat, which is a bonus. But it's now called the Old Nick, as I say, and there's some debate about how it got its name. Old Nick apparently is another alternative expression for the devil, so that's one possibility. Another possibility, it refers to a barrister whose name was Nick, who used to hold most of his sessions, or rather his consultations, in here. And there is a third possibility, that it was an old police station, hence the Nick. So the jury's out on what the origins of the name, but it's actually only been called this since 2006, so it really shouldn't be that hard to find. And if we can find the original origin, we'll get back to you. Anyway, you can hear it's quite rowdy. Gonna ring off and then head up to I think it might be the Duke next. So take care. Cheers. Forgot to add that the Old Nick, formerly the Three Cups, is a hall and woodhouse pub. So we had some thirsty ferret or some such thing. A little bit too hoppy for me, but not too bad a pint. Martin had a half because he already had 4 before I got here. So, there you go. And another thing, this was actually an old coaching inn as well, and down the side there is a still a passageway that goes to three Cups Square or 3 Bucks Court, I think it's called, where obviously the coaches were kept before their runs up to Cambridge or wherever. So so there's quite some history still steeped in this place. So Martin, what's that you say? You've burnt off how many?
760 calories.
What, just walking round London in the last couple of hours?
Well, chasing after you with your mad thirst and massive pace.
Well, top that off with a vigorous wank and you can probably manage 1,000 by the end of the night.
That's a very good suggestion. I didn't know you were a doctor.
Right, so we got into the Dolphin on Red Lion Street, a little bit further up from the Old Nick. And this is quite a famous pub in many ways, not least for the fact that it was destroyed in 1915 by a German army Zeppelin commanded by a Heinrich Mathy. And from a height of 8,500 feet, it dropped several bombs, which unfortunately razed the pub to the ground and killed 3 customers. Now, there is quite an interesting memento also, which is the clock that was in the pub, and it's still here, bizarrely, even after they've rebuilt it, which was stuck at the time, which was 10:40 p.m. Now, ironically, we just came in the pub and sat next to a charming lady called Julia, who's actually a German. So maybe we can get a word from her in a minute and find out her perspective on the attack. But we can't really blame it 120 years later on a poor innocent bystander. But it is a lovely pub actually, also, by the way, a nice little corner pub, quite small, quite in the vogue of, I would say, 70s, 80s. Hasn't really, and which I find quite charming. But anyway, Julia, would you like to say a quick word about the history of the pub as you know it now?
Hi, hello, hi.
Have you anything to say about your nation destroying it at one point?
Yes, our nation destroyed it, and so your nation, your friend's nation.
Okay, all right.
Right, I'm sorry about this.
Okay, you're sorry.
But anyway, let's have a drink.
Yeah, have a drink.
Make it up.
Make it up. That's the best thing we can do. Well done.
Yeah.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Got to the Duke on Roger Street, St John's Mews, and I have to say I'm absolutely astonished by this time warp pub, which was built in 1938. It's like stepping into a wartime pub. Full of Art Deco features, little booths, little oak panelled booths, Art Deco mirrors, figurines, bar tops. It's frozen in time from about, 70 years ago, I suppose, or 80 years ago even. Small little panelled window tops, fan lights, Crittall style windows, some etched glass, which looks a little bit more modern. Actually, I've just spotted a double diamond etched glass window as well, which is quite curious actually, because they've just reintroduced double diamond into a couple of pubs in London, and that was going to be one of my target things to try at some point. I can't. There's some lino on the floor, which looks like it's been here probably since 1938, which all adds to the general feel of well-being. Charming girl behind the bar, charming part of Taylor's landlord, or in fact, what I had, Black Sheep. And nothing has changed. Unfortunately, there is a flat screen TV, but that doesn't seem to detract too much from the general atmosphere. And I have to say, it's absolutely terrific. What a little find, and a little bit off the beaten track. It's actually not too far from Coram Fields, funnily enough. and which was named after a chap called, a sailor, Captain Thomas Coram, who was quite a philanthropist as well, and started what was called the Foundlings was it the Foundlings Hospital or the Foundlings establishment? And the foundlings were people that were children that were abandoned as babies, hence foundlings. So we're all in that sort of area of London where there was philanthropy and development in pubs going on, and you must come here. It's a little gem, and I hope it stays like this forever. All right, till the next time. Speak soon. Just left the Duke, and we've come across a lovely little place called Doughty Mews, and it's an actual charming little back street in Bloomsbury with houses obviously built as mews houses with stables on it once upon a time, and now mostly encased in brickwork, but with a little it's like a little avenue of trees and shrubs. I suspect there's not much road traffic down here, or even allowed, perhaps. Some of them have got mansard roofs with dormer windows in as well, looking up at and a nice portico lamp. Absolutely lovely Doughty Mews. Come and have a walk down it on your way to the Duke the next time you're in Bloomsbury. Charming, utterly charming.